From the cutting room floor, where at least this preacher is able to pick up some of the scraps that were left on the floor and never made it to the sermon on Sunday. This is often the case, and I'm going to do that today with just a couple of additional reflections on Revelation 5. We're still in the throne room section, Revelation 4 and 5. And I didn't say anything about this. I could have added a parenthetical as I was reading through it, but I didn't. So let me just make a couple of comments on verse 6. It talks about the Lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes. 7 horns and 7 eyes. What do we make? What do we make of that? Well, as I've mentioned, the number 7 indicates completeness. Nothing is missing. There's sort of a perfection to whatever the thing is. Now, 7's not always used in a positive sense, and we'll see that with the seals, trumpets, and bowls. There's some negative stuff there, but it's whole, it's complete, there's nothing missing. And so we have this mention of 7 horns that the Lamb has. Horns throughout the Bible indicate power and strength. Kind of a royal authority. Animals gore enemies with horns. The imagery can carry with it some Davidic connotations. So in the context of Revelation 5, though the Lamb was slain, he now reigns with complete, undiminished power as the risen King. The vulnerability of the Lamb and the authority of the King are held together in sort of this single image. And then you've got this mention of 7 eyes, representing what? Perfect, complete knowledge. Background to this is Zechariah 4:10, 2 Chronicles 16:9, where the Lord's eyes roam the entire earth, meaning he observes and knows everything happening among humanity. Proverbs 15:3 kind of reinforces this idea. God's eyes are everywhere, seeing both wicked and righteous. And then you'll notice in Revelation 5 that the eyes are further identified as the 7 spirits of God. I've talked about this before. I really do believe this is a reference to the Holy Spirit in his fullness. The Spirit, in other words, is the means by which Christ watches over the world. Richard Bauckham puts it this way. He says the 7 spirits are the presence and power of God on earth, bringing about God's kingdom by implementing the Lamb's victory throughout the world. And this connects to the consistent Johannine theme of John, that the Spirit is sent into the world precisely because of Christ's death and exaltation. And so what John communicates in the Apocalypse, here, the Gospel of John states plainly, the Spirit is the fruit of the Son's glorification. So I love the way that, when you take this together, you got the 7 horns and 7 eyes, it paints a portrait of a Lamb who is simultaneously sovereign and omniscient, one who reigns with complete power, sees with complete knowledge, and fills the world with his Spirit. So there's some details there that I didn't unpack in yesterday's message. One thing I want to add to this, Revelation 4 and 5 really does go together. It's the throne room. And as I mentioned in chapter 4 a few weeks ago, 30-some odd instances of the word throne occurs in Revelation, and like 17 of them are packed into these 2 chapters. So everything in 4 and 5 is oriented to the throne. And I think that's got application. That's not just a theoretical statement. That's not just an observation made of a strange vision some guy had. There's an application to this, and that is, what throne is your life oriented towards? Your life is referenced to a throne. It's oriented towards a throne. What throne is it? Whatever it is it's worship. This is where I think a lot of Christians misunderstand worship. Most Christians think worship is something we sing about or bow down to, but it's more fundamental than that. In fact, worship is actually insidious. In other words, you're unaware of most of your worship. If we go back to the throne room of Revelation 4 and 5, you notice the concentric circles with the 4 creatures, the 24 elders. They face the throne. Their posture is towards the throne. We face the object of our worship. We set our eyes on it. We set our attention on it. Our senses are devoted to it. Our lives are oriented toward the object of our adoration. We can get very practical with this. Take the football fan. All week he studies the object of his adoration. He reads about it. He studies statistics. He watches shows about it. He talks about it. Then on Sunday, he spends a great deal of time and effort to actually get into the presence of the object of his adoration. When the object of his adoration is presented to his senses, his whole posture changes. He praises them. He shouts. His face is aglow. Well, what is that? That's worship. Or take the political activist. All week, she studies the object of her adoration. She reads incessantly about it. She studies it. She watches shows about it. She talks about it. When others don't share her passion for it, she's disappointed and maybe even critical of them. When the object of her adoration is presented to her senses, her whole posture changes. She praises them. Her face is aglow. Well, what is that? What is that? That's worship. That's worship. The worshiper, and we're all worshipers, is oriented towards a throne. Who or what is seated there? It's a pity when sports or politics, sex, money, power, control sit on the throne of our lives. So what does it mean to worship God? Well, it means to let the worth of God, the value of God, sink in so much that you respond with a wholehearted reorientation of your life. Seeing what he's really worth and giving him what he's really worth, that's worship. So do you do that? Are you doing that? When your life has been radically reoriented towards God, he becomes the most important priority in the way you handle your money, for example. He becomes the most important priority in the way you conduct your career, in the way in which you carry out your relationships, in the way in which you use your tongue, in the way in which you form your opinions. And so when you stop to think about it, the solution to so many of our problems personally, in our families, in our communities, the solution is a worship issue. Who or what sits on the throne of your life? What is your life oriented towards and around? Revelation 4 and 5 really does challenge us to think deeply about that, and it challenges us to make a change if we sense that someone or something other than God is seated on his throne. I hope this has been helpful to you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.